Yes, early in the morning.
And it's not even
Something,
early for
something.
you, I think, correct?
He's a
That's
what
how
now?
time works. It's earlier for you than it is for me, right? I mean,
Yeah, buddy.
that's how time works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear it's a flat circle.
Yeah, just like the Earth.
Like Seibert Radio, we're about to start the show. We talk about stuff and things, lots of guests, in-depth interviewing. Like Seibert Radio, it's nobody's favorite show. Movies, comics, video games, and TV, and we also can guarantee that it's not gonna be that funny. That's okay because the show is free, so crank the volume in your headphones. The podcast at last is starting. It's time for Mike Seibert Radio.
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome back to Mike Seibert Radio. I am your host, and today we're talking TFCon. It's my recap of some of the things I did during TFCon LA, but I am not here alone. Joining me on this reheated adventure is the co-host of Two Mikes, Two Furious animated Transformers. He's the serial rewatcher. He's the Spark Soul brother. It's my friend, author Michael Andrews.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me yet again. Yeah, excited. We've been on a little bit of a break. I'm excited to get back in the saddle, talk about Transformers Animated, talk about TFCon. Uh, Frozen Empire is out in the world. A new
Oh, yeah.
Ghostbusters movie, Extreme Ghostbusters on DVD, just arrived at my house thanks to a tip from Matthew Barbario. I'm flying high these days.
I was just going to ask you if your Extreme Ghostbusters DVD had arrived yet, because I saw people posting pics of it on twitter.com, and I didn't see that you were one of them. I was like, oh no, did Michael Andrews get his Extreme Ghostbusters DVD?
I did get it. I think I was one of the second waivers because Matthew had to tip me off because the pre-order sold out and then came back, and I wouldn't have got it if he hadn't told me, and it's gone again now. So I can finally finish seeing the entire series, which I've yet to do. Unlike TFA, which I've seen in its entirety several times, I've
Yeah.
never completely finished Extreme Ghostbusters. So pumped.
Gotcha. Well, I love that story for you, and maybe sometime in the future, because you haven't seen the Frozen Empire, right?
I have not.
Okay, I was gonna say maybe after you see it, we could compare some notes.
Okay. Unless we're doing like the future time traveling thing, then yes, I've seen it. Because I will be seeing it soon.
I gotcha. Whereas I exist in a time zone where I have seen it. So, maybe we'll re-reconcile at some point, because I think there's enough Ghostbusters adjacent TFA talk. I think folks might want to hear a little bit of what the mics have to say about
I've established that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned TFCon, and if there is a little bit of a rasp and a little bit of a hitch in my giddy up, it's like, because I have returned from TFCon LA. That was back March 8th through the 10th down at the Los Angeles Marriott Burbank Airport Hotel and Convention Center. And as of this recording, I've been back for like 2 weeks, and I swear I am still hungover. Like, I don't know if it's like actual hungover, or if it's allergies or a cold or a flu and allergies and being hungover. Either way, it's like, yeah. So it's like, over the next couple episodes, you'll hear a little bit of that. Maybe I should have gotten some of those Three Mics histamines that we had recently. But yeah, it's like,
you're playing in my pool, baby. This is where I live.
Exactly. As I edit out little sniffies as I go, and little throat clears and all that. But
I'll say this: the con hangover and the TFCon hangover is a real thing. Maybe if convention goers, you're not a convention goer, you maybe not realize this, but yeah, it's like a real sickness. I mean, it's not an actual hangover, but it's just like a malaise after you come back from a big convention like that. And the older you get, just like a real disease, like the longer it lasts, the longer it kind of lingers. It's like long COVID or something. It's like long convention.
Right. I love it. I mean, that's why I changed the Twitter name to TFCon LA Hangover, because
Yes,
it's, it's
absolutely.
and for some of us that is both figurative and literal. So I did want to start the show by kind of like doing a little bit of a recap, not like a comprehensive recap of everything, but I wanted to touch on some of the stuff that I did and kind of some of the cool TFA adjacent stuff that I ended up being involved in. First of all, I mean, what a great time. Like, this was something that I had never seen before in like my like 8 years of going to TFCon. Um, the dang thing sold out. They stopped selling tickets to TFCon LA at
Oh,
certain
wow.
points. Now they ended up doing like at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. They did end up opening up a small allotment for walk-ups, which included my uncle Chris and his brother Tim. Came down from the Seattle area as well. And in fact, Michael Andrews, I think you met those cats 5 years ago
Yeah, I
at
had
the
lunch
first
with them,
TF.
in fact, yeah.
Yeah. That the infamous lunch.
Right.
So they came down again. But what was so funny is, like, one of the things that you take for granted the most for TFCon is actually getting the show tickets, because the thing never sells out, and we always in the fandom we make jokes. It's like, oh yeah, no, they'll continue to sell tickets regardless. Not this time. So my uncle and his brother fly down to Burbank without tickets to the show in hand, and end up hanging out on Friday, kind of getting some of that pre-convention scene, because the show floor doesn't open on Friday anyway. It's all panels and registration and bar scene activities, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But basically, like, most of their Saturday ended up like hanging out in courtyards and in lobbies and in bars. And then, yeah, we heard like this very small window of new ticket allotments was there. So they did end up getting into the show floor. And I don't want to pick on the guys for their lack of prep, because it could happen to anybody. But like, it did kind of crack me up that by the time they got their wristbands for Saturday, the show floor was so packed they did one lap and called it good.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
I got what I needed, because it was crowded.
Wow.
Yeah, real jam packed. And unlike other TF cons where you have like a Frank Welker and or a Peter Cullen like on a Saturday, and that Saturday is packed like it was in Chicago in 2022. Um, since Frank and Peter were there on Sunday, Sunday was packed also.
Oh,
So
wow.
so the dealer room and artist alley and all that was packed at all times. It was very tough to get around. Um, but it was a terrific good time. So I had a deep crew. It's like I had my uncles, I had my buddy Chandler, who folks might know as Munka Spanka on the APDC Discord.
Ah,
I think that's his current handle. He's changed it a couple times, I think. But anyway, so his birthday was actually on Sunday, so we got to celebrate that. That was a lot of fun.
oh,
And
nice.
then got to hang out with the APDC guys, Aaron, Ryan, and Caleb,
Yeah.
so had a very large crew.
A true entourage there. You're walking around like celebrities.
Literally, like we, yeah, it had very much that vibe and feel when we were all together. Now we kind of like split up and went separate ways a few different times, but for the most part, that was the crew. Um, Friday was the podcaster roundtable that I had the opportunity to host, and I call attention to that because I got to make more than a couple Two Mikes Too Furious references. Like,
Yes.
it was actually really fun because like I had set it up to be basically like open Q&A with the audience. It was a packed house. It was rowdy. It was fun. We ended up taking like 20 questions because that was the amount of swag bag gift bags with stuff generously donated by the Autopod Decepticast guys. The transmissions guys threw in copies of Skybound #1 in there,
Oh,
which I
cool.
thought was super cool. I was eager to snag one for myself, but I'm like, no, that's for the audience. But
One
but no,
swag bag came away partially empty. We won't point
ex-
fingers, but
But no, it was a really fun, rowdy panel, and like, I got to refer to Optimus Prime and his sweet, sweet axe, which I thought got some really good chuckles from the crowd.
Yeah.
I also got to talk about theater kid Megatron, and I was getting a little bit of pushback from my fellow panelists, and it's like, I don't know if TFA Megatron is all that dramatic. I'm like, oh, really?
Please.
Oh, the pain. If only I had a new body to be able to help my Autobot friends. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, and I do like this whole thing. I'm like, oh, the pain, the pain. I would like to think that went over pretty well,
Oh, good.
but that was awesome. We had there were 12 people on that panel, 12 podcasters.
Wow.
It is I don't have the documentation to support this or the attribution to support this, but I am pretty sure that is the biggest panel in TFCon history.
It's
I
the
would have
Last
to
Supper up there.
very much so. And some of those pictures that we posted do look very Last Supper adjacent for sure. So if you wanted to check out the video of that, I was able to live stream it. I set up a little webcam in the corner. That video and sound isn't super great, but it kind of captures the visceral feeling of being there. But then also super shout out and thanks to Evan from TFCon for getting me the high quality camera footage. So that high quality video is also up on the Mike Seibert Radio podcast YouTube page and channels, so you could check it out there. Runs just under an hour. It's breezy, it's fun. And I listened. I was recently a guest on TFYLP, Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, and Anna from that show was one of the panelists as well. And during their debrief episode, one of the things that she called out that makes me super proud is she was really surprised by the diversity of the panel. Like over a third of the panelists were ladies. So it's
cool.
like I thought I felt very proud of that. And yeah, it's like, we were I feel like we covered the spectrum of Transformers fandom. I mean, obviously not totally and completely, but in a way that, if I'm dancing around it without being blunt, but it was the thing I didn't want was 5 white guys up there talking about doing podcasts.
Yeah.
That was my mission statement from Go, is like, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like we accomplished that. So it was we accomplished something.
There we go.
But right after that panel was the live benefit auction for Bill Forster, who is the co-author of the Allspark Almanacs and the Arc books, and a couple other things with Jim Sorensen. Me and Jim Sorensen are like bonded for life now. Like we work together on like a couple different things with regards to like the auction and stuff, and that dude is so cool. He is he's a really cool dude. We raised over $10,000 for Bill Forster for his treatment of Parkinson's. And so it's and it was a fun, rowdy auction. I love live auctions. It made me feel good when the TFCon folks were like, because they do a big charity auction for Make-A-Wish up in Toronto during TFCon Toronto. And the TFCon folks looked at me as like, oh my gosh, it's like you guys did in an hour what it takes us like 4 hours to do. Now, granted, their auctions are a little different. It's more like bring stuff to the table. It's like it's a combination of like it's a combination of good junk, and real good stuff. But it's like knickknacks. It's like, DVDs, or like, loose figures, or Grimlockamus customs. It's like it goes up and down the spectrum of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was an absolute blast. Really glad and grateful that I was able to participate in that. Saturday, I got to meet Eric Siebenahler, who's one of the toy designers for TFA, and Michael Andrews' favorite dude in the whole world, Marty Eisenberg,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is a delight, by the way.
Is he?
And
Oh.
he's great. He's great. And I talked to both of these guys separately. I gave them some Two Mics Too Furious buttons, invited them to be on the show after we wrap up with the episodes. Marty does podcast interviews relatively often.
Wow.
So he hooked me up with some of his contact information. That is something we're definitely going to do after we wrap up. And then
Well,
same
prepare
thing.
for me to not say a word because I will be so in awe of his major talents. I can't stress enough. I'm such a fan of his writing, and yeah, that's so cool that you got to meet him.
Well, not to make you blush too much, but a lot of the conversation that he and I had revolved around you. I was like, and I told him, I go, I'm new to this. I'm really digging it. And I told him about some of the things we've talked about in the show here on Two Mics. Like the perspective of like nothing is wasted and things come back around and the secret foreshadowing and all that. And he was digging on all that. I go, so, but I will admit that I am new to your work, but someone who isn't, and I go, no, I cannot tell you enough how much of a fan my co-host Michael Andrews is of your work. It's like that was one of like the driving forces of us starting the podcast, is that he's such a fan of your writing across all of the stuff that you've done. And I could tell that he was, he was genuinely touched by that. And
thank you, Mike. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I've laid the track enough already so that when we do have Marty Eisenberg on the show,
I can completely freeze up. Thank you.
Exactly. Which is fine. That's also, I did not bring it here to demonstrate, but I do have something for the Spark Soul brother from Marty Eisenberg. It's not for me. It's for you, Michael Andrews.
Oh my God.
Next, I got to figure out how to get it to you. Maybe like Chicago 2025, if TFCon comes back around, maybe I bring it and hand it to you directly. Because I don't know if I trust the mail. But we can maybe litigate that off mic. But okay. I do have something from Marty Eisenberg for you.
Oh my gosh.
So and Eric was terrific as well. And so I got to tell him that the cool thing about the original run of TFA Toys is they're a feat of engineering of a feat of engineering. And he seemed to light up and smile when I shared that with him. And, and he was talking about how their edict was to, capture the essence of these characters in both modes and trying to figure out how to do that from an engineering standpoint. So it was a very interesting conversation. So, both of those folks have Two Mics Too Furious buttons, and I have had conversations with them outside of the convention. So I would imagine we would be better suited having them on after we've finished the whole run. That way, because even when I was talking to Marty Eisenberg, I felt him kind of catch himself a couple times. He's like, wait. Oh, actually, I almost let this slip because he specifically called out the Auto Boot Camp episode, and he smiled and he's like, "Have you gotten to Auto Boot Camp yet?" I'm like, "No," but that is like Michael Andrews' favorite episode.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're in for a treat." And that's all he told me, the first time watcher.
Oh, good.
I'm like,
he gets the show. Awesome.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it was kind of funny kind of talking about kind of some of my takes on his interpretations of the characters. And, I don't want to intuit too much from nonverbal stuff, but it felt like some of the nods he was giving me was like, not unlike Michael Andrews, where he's like, you almost got it. You don't quite got it, or like you're closer than you think, but not quite.
I was going to say, I know that nod you're talking about. I do it quite.
Yes. So it was terrific and excellent meeting those guys. A TFCon tradition that's occurred over the last couple years, that now that Michael Andrews and I have kind of dialed into this Transformers animated headspace, is anytime I see any TFA toys, I snap a pic and I text him. I'm just like, is this a thing? Is this a thing you're interested in? And it was interesting because, like, you would think after doing this for a couple years, I'd have probably have given you a heads up. Oh, by the way, I'm going to TFCon and I'm probably going to text you. But I've always wondered what the other side of that is, where, Michael Andrews, you're just minding your own business. Suddenly you're getting like this text spam of like all these pictures. I'm like, is this a thing you want?
Right. It's like sitting on a dryer, really. Your pocket is constantly buzzing with picture messages.
I like that analogy. But
Not a perfect one, but it'll get you there.
No, it'll get you there. Excuse me. Okay, I did it. So there was so the headline is I found a bunch of cool TFA stuff that I thought Michael Andrews would be interested in, and all of it was gone the next day. Like, it's like, oh hey man, because like I found like a rescue Ratchet with like, and it's kind of funny because that's like the convergence of like both of our collector interests converging, because there's two activators in there. I think there's like a Prowl and a Starscream or something like that.
That's correct, yeah.
And after the last TFCon, I'm on an activators kick. Like I've got a bunch of them, and since it's a finite little collection, I'm gonna start trying to gobble those up, much like I did with alternators back in the day. But anyway.
Yeah, I should say, just to clarify, the Rescue Ratchet is the infamous yellow Ratchet that I had at one point in my collection. I've been searching for ever since. But I was being a little bit of a cheapskate. I did the old, well, if it's still there Sunday, make an offer on it. I was trying to sort of encapsulate that. That's one of my favorite things about TFCon, is wheeling and dealing in the dealer room. And I think I was trying to capture that essence from my couch. But maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that was too much of a grail to let go.
Yeah, you know what? And in retrospect, I should have just pulled the trigger on it and then figured it out later. You know what I mean? It's like maybe we do a thing where we like split the pack. Like I like buy out the difference for the activators and give you the Ratchet or something like that.
Yeah, I would have gone in for that. When you mentioned that about activators, I was like, oh, I totally would have split the pack. I'm no precious in the box collector, as we've well litigated.
Right. Yeah, because we could have just tore that box open and tossed it and been done with it.
Yeah.
Shit, should have done that. Oh,
shoulda, woulda, coulda.
But speaking of Transformers animated toys that I found, this was absolutely bonkers. There was one dealer who I think had like either like a toy store or like just a regular store or something like that, but they had cases upon cases upon cases of like 2008 era Transformers. So there was a lot of like Universe 1.0 stuff. There was a lot of like movie stuff in there, a lot of stuff that I couldn't identify. I'm like, I don't even know what any of this stuff is. But what they also had was a fair selection of case fresh Transformers animated stuff. So like first it caught my eye because like it was when I sent you that first picture, because I had found a Snarl. And I seem to always find these. I find a mint on card Snarl for $40. And it's like, I think that's not the first time I found that exact figure at that exact price point. And I'm just like, hey, Michael Andrews, do you want a Snarl for $40? No, I want to find it loose. Cool, no problem. What I didn't realize, though, when I took that pick was that, I mean, there were other figures there. They had Jazz, they had Blur, um, and a couple others. Well, maybe not at that point, but I think it was just those. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I came back around at a different time and they had different stuff. Like they had a Grimlock, they had a Skywarp, they had a who's the other Voyager? Um they had like a zany Cybertronian Megatron. Like
Oh yeah,
and then like at a different time
that's a great figure.
they had other stuff. And what I didn't realize until I saw the pattern was that they were opening cases of their overstock that they had had since 2008.
Oh
And
no
basically
way.
so like I'm watching them rip the tape off of these sealed cases, opening it up and pulling out like case fresh as snarls, case fresh
Wow.
blurs, case fresh jazz. And so as they're pulling them out of the box, it's almost becoming like, I don't know, like almost like a flea market auction type of thing. Folks are just like screaming for these figures. And basically there was a backlog for them to get priced. I would say though that the prices were appropriate for what they were, but out of my budget. So
Yes.
I didn't buy a damn thing from them, but it was interesting and exciting to see um those kinds of specimens, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it
uh
was like I wish I could be there just to witness that act of cracking open the case and seeing them come out, never before having touched a peg. Like that's pretty rare.
yeah, absolutely. So it's like, so just to give perspective, like they were asking 60 for the Blur, 40 for Snarl, and 55 for Jazz, which,
Yeah, and I think I commented when you sent that pic. I didn't pay much less than that for my kind of beat up out of the box Blur. So that's a pretty incredible price.
right, right. And oh, that's what I didn't get. So it was so I'm looking at my pictures now. So I'm looking at a picture where it's like this must have been in one case assortment, because they had Cybertronian mode Megatron for like 78, Grimlock for 70, Starscream for 90, and this, if I didn't have my current Legacy United animated Optimus, I'd have bought this. They had the 2-pack.
Oh yeah.
The Cybertronian mode Megatron and the Voyager scale Optimus with like the battle damage on
I
him.
was just gonna ask, was it the battle damage one? Because I think those are so cool.
And it's the one that everybody had told me to get.
Yeah.
But a $90 price point put it a little out of reach for me.
Yeah.
Then later on, they had a Soundwave that I didn't was like, I had it in my hand, and I'm like, how much do you want for Soundwave? I don't know, I'm a little behind. So basically, like, the nice lady was like on her phone. Like, I don't know how they were determining their prices. I would like to think maybe like sold eBay listings or something like that. But point being, like, I'm one of my least positive traits, especially in a convention setting, is I'm incredibly impatient. And the grass is always greener somewhere else. It's like I have like an internal ticking clock. So I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. She's like a table full of toys behind. I'm going to set this down. I'm going to go get an autograph from somebody else. I'm going to come back around and hopefully they'll have a price on it. And once you know it, that Soundwave was gone.
Oh.
And there is a part of me that's kind of glad, because it probably would have had one of those higher price points on it, and I would have been challenged whether I wanted to get it or not. Here's the other thing too, and this was like right about the time that I met Marty Eisenberg. Now, Marty Eisenberg didn't have really anything on his table to autograph. Like, it was just stuff that people were coming up with. And I saw people were like giving him toys. Same thing with Eric Siebenhaler. And they were autographing loose figures. They were autographing figures on card. And suddenly the light bulb goes off. I was like, how about I go back and I buy one of these bigger ticket items that I know I'm not going to open, but then I get it autographed. And I go back there, the 2-pack is gone. And I see that they have an Optimus. Oh, Soundwave is gone as well. But I see that they have an Optimus, and it was like, I don't know what size class it was, but he's in a box in truck mode with an axe that I don't particularly like. So I don't know which one it is, but it's an Optimus. And I'm like, I think I had texted you. I'm like, I'm about to make some bad decisions. and I thought I was going to pull the trigger on it. They were asking $170 for it. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Even with getting the double autograph on it, because I don't know enough about Eric Siebenhaler's work to know which toys he designed and which ones he didn't. So I don't want to offend the guy by like putting a toy, like, just assuming that he designed all of the TFA toys. I honestly don't know. But it's like, that was too much, but
that would have been my entire TFCon budget.
Right.
Typically when I have been there in the past. So I don't blame you at all.
Keeping in mind that I had already smoked my entire TFCon budget on Friday when I got the G.I. Joe package art omnibus for $300 in the auction. So that was pretty much it for me. But so glad I did it, though. I mean, it was for a good cause. And I told Jim Sorensen if he brought it, I was like trying to tell him that I was going to buy it without telling him. But he's like, well, it's a Transformers convention. Do you think anybody would be interested in this G.I. Joe book? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Please bring it. Please bring it. And I was glad I was in a competition with other folks. Some other folks ran it up pretty high. But yeah, I came in with the death blow. I knew I was going to pay whatever it took to get it just because I wanted it.
Mike Seibert saw that and he said, yes, bring that G.I. Joe item to a Transformers convention.
Exactly.
Deal of a deal.
So anyway, so I didn't buy any of the Case Fresh stuff. I got sticker shock. I blinked. I did like your trying to enable me though, because like I said something, I'm like, oh man, I'm about to make poor choices, and you're like, you're at a Transformers convention. It's not like you're buying groceries, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I've had to remind myself of that in the past. You're there for this experience. You're gonna regret it as soon as it's over. You'll never get it back exactly the same way again. You can buy something a little silly. That's what that cash flow's for that weekend.
Yeah, quite so. But it was I was getting that massive FOMO because like folks are more creative than I am in terms of like what they get autographed. Like that same dealer had sealed lug nuts and getting David K to autograph them. And like there is something about the Transformers animated packaging that really, like, I mean, we saw this when Alpha Magnus was showing us his Wreck-Gar that was autographed by both Weird Al and Derek J. Wyatt, and had a little doodle on there. There's something about that package that is built to have autographs on it. Like, seeing like a David K. autographed lug nut, because like he happened to have like a pen that was like that color of teal, and like it just really popped on the window. I was like, oh shit, maybe I should have bought one of those. Because I mean, my problem is like I'm still relatively new to TFA, that I don't know if I feel that urge to go all in that big on one thing. Like maybe it would be that Soundwave. Like maybe I'd pay triple digits for it, but I don't know. It's like, do I was having this crisis of like, this is kind of the new hotness for me. but do I like it that much? You know, that kind of thing. So I'm still kind of a little bit in that phase. But
Sure.
I did buy something though that was TFA toy related. I'll get to
Gosh,
that in
I
a
hope.
sec. I know. I mean, I didn't come away empty-handed. I didn't come away from the Transformers convention with only a 20-pound GI Joe book. Um, I mean that thing is massive. You could kill a man with it. Like I can only read it while sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce. Like I feel like if I put it on a table, it will buckle the table. So it's like
Sure.
there's been a couple times where I've just like sitting on the floor, literally like a kindergartner, just like going through this massive tome. That book rules.
I picture you reading it, and the pages are writing new pages as you're turning them. It's somehow bigger inside than outside.
Oh my God, real never-ending story
Yeah.
situation there. Well done, well done. But also though, on what the highlights of Saturday, and I talked about this in kind of like the post-credit stinger for our last episode. We had learned that there was going to be a Transformers animated panel, and it was talking about deleted scenes and deleted characters. And it was hosted by Kean Carlisle, who is, I'm pretty sure, the internet's undisputed number one TFA fan, I think.
100%. 100%.
Which I did not realize this until it's something that I've learned as I've gotten into TFA. I keep seeing tweets from this dude over and over. I was like, oh, so yeah, so I didn't realize he was that dialed in, but
I just realized it this morning when I watched the panel on YouTube, and I had the same, in awe moment of, wow, this is a true TFA historian.
Well, let's put it this way. So one of the things that was in the auction for Bill Forster was a trio of scripts that I believe were show used. I think they were Marty Eisenberg's personal copies, but it was a trio of let me make sure I got this right. It was Garbage In, Garbage Out, Nanosec. Oh, and Along Came a Spider.
Yes, yeah.
So it was Marty Eisenberg's scripts, autographed by him with some notations in there. Kean paid $1,500 for that lot in the auction.
Incredible.
So, and one of the cooler moments for me was like after he had purchased them, he came up onto the stage and was just one of my delights was watching him just read through the scripts. He just sat there like transported into a different world. Like TFCon just disappeared for this guy as he's just reading these scripts. It was pretty cool to watch out of the corner of my eye.
I hope he put on those those white archival gloves to turn the pages. That's what I would have done at least.
But I kind of got on a tangent there. So Kean hosted this deleted scenes panel, and it was going to be like one of the big highlights for TFCon. And there was a lot of discourse between you and I, Michael Andrews, and with me and the audience trying to figure out if I can even go to this thing. I mean, it's deleted scenes, it's deleted characters, but having it being hosted by Kean with Eric Siebenhaler and Marty Eisenberg and Jim Sorensen, I'm just like, this is a thing I kind of have to go to, right? It's like, it's here. It's happening live. I'm into TFA right now. How can I not go to this? I was really having like an existential crisis about it. And we had conversations about like, well, if I go, is it super spoilers? Does that wreck the show? And it was, and I think even at the end of the day, Michael Andrews, we didn't entirely land on the same page. Like right. you were team do not go.
Yeah, I was.
And I'm like, but there's people there, it's like, I mean, it would be one if it was just Kean no disrespect to him or his channel. He does terrific work. But if it was just Kian, no problem. Easy skip. I'll catch it on his YouTube channel at some other point. But having Marty and Eric and Jim on stage together talking about this material made it a horse of a different color for me. So I ended up putting this up on as a poll. Should our first-time TFA watcher Mike Seibert risk super spoilers by going to the deleted scenes and characters panel at TFCon? It's at 5 o'clock on Sunday, hosted by Kian Carlisle and Jim Sorensen with Marty Eisenberg and Eric Seibert. And I put up two options. Don't do it and take the risk. With a total of 24 votes, the top vote getter, and I set the poll to end right before the panel started to get the best results. 54.2% of the vote said take the risk. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take the risk. And
I thought, who hurt you to those people?
maybe they just like the chaos. But I like, though, that like, so I retweeted those results. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm going to go. And our good friend Whirl put like the best meme response. It's Walter White Breaking Bad, like in the back of the van, and I'm just going to read this. I mean, I'll have to repost this meme because it's it's visual, but whatever. It was all like, Mike, don't go to the Transformers animated panel. Mike, you're going to get spoiled. Mike. So they were very, very concerned for my well-being. So the question on everybody's mind, and I've taken probably over a half hour to answer this and bury the lead. Did I go to the panel? The shortest answer is yes. Now for the longer answer. Hey, Mike, were you spoiled? Shortest answer, no. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you my story. So I go into the panel and I took a picture from the back of the room, standing room only. This room was packed at capacity. I take a picture, I post it and say like, hey man, we're, standing room only for the TFA panel. And even as you watch the video, which is now available on Kian Carlisle's Transformers YouTube channel, I'll put a link in the show notes so you can check it out. If you watch the video and if you look at the back wall, you'll see a couple folks there. And if you see a big dude and a littler big dude, that's me and Chandler. Like standing next to Chandler, and I hope this isn't offensive to him, but like when he and I are in the same space together, it's a lot of like bulkhead and prowl energy. He's just a big dude.
Sure.
I mean like tall. That kind of big. But also he lifts the weight. So he's also again, a lot of bulkhead energy.
In this fantasy, you're prowl. Is that what I'm understanding?
In terms of like size comparison, actually it's probably more like a bulkhead Optimus situation, because Optimus is still I'm a big dude. I'm a big fat guy. So it's like, but somebody has to be bulkhead in that situation. You can't have two bulkheads. I mean, is there like small bulkhead? If there was, then sure, I could be small bulkhead. We'll just do that. I'll be okay. So, there you go. Here we go. I figured it out. You got leader class bulkhead and you've got Voyager class bulkhead. That's what it is.
Bingo,
so there it is. There. So his back kibble can fold out into a chair. Mine cannot.
There it is. I love perfect.
There we go. Heart you, buddy. Sorry. Happy birthday again. But anyway, so you could see us if you know what you're looking for. You could see us in the back of the room. So the panel starts, and Kian kind of talks about what the structure of it is. He's like, well, hey man, an Allspark Almanac 2. And I'm like, God, it's already happened. No. But then like they go through deleted scenes for season 1. And they start off with a deleted scene from Sound and Fury, where like during the robot uprising, Captain Fanzone's megaphone is also like overcome with the robot revolution and stuff. And it's a quick little gag where like, you know, he's yelling into the megaphone and like the megaphone flips around and yells back at him. And there is something, this is the experience I wanted by going to this panel, to be in a crowd together, to hear other people talking along with the thing. This is why I hate machines. So you get one of those, the crowd kind of says it's not like watching like Transformers 2007 where people are just screaming left cheek, left cheek, left cheek. But that was the thing that happened on Friday as well. But like,
awesome.
but you would love it. So they showed both 2007 on Friday night, and then on Saturday night they showed Dark of the Moon, and
My
both
God.
of them were rowdy, like we're kind of like MST3K, like we're saying the lines, and it's encouraged and it's rowdy. I think you'd have a blast with it. You know,
Thank you.
it'd be like,
that's one of my favorite things I love about TFCon is I kind of live in a vacuum of being a live action Bayverse fan, but at TFCon you find your people.
You'll find your people for sure.
Great. That's the best thing about those conventions.
Absolutely. Maybe you and Matthew Barbario could go to that live action screening together. But so Fanzone says the line, we as a crowd say it, and thunderous applause. Like he said the thing, woo.
Awesome.
And then the next scene is a couple missing frames from Megatron Rising, trying to reconcile what happens to Isaac Sumdac after Megatron starts to form. Because remember, he's sitting in the hand chair, and the hand kind of closes around him and pulls him through the floor. And we talked about this in our episode. I'm like, oh, that guy's dead now. He smushed him. So there's a few extra animated frames of kind of what happened, and more or less like they reanimated a scene where Megatron has him in his hand and then he like opens his hand and drops him out. You know, little things like that. The last and that's right about the time that much like Stone Cold Steve Austin in the WWF, like, you know, like doing like outside interference, like an entire different wrestling match comes on, outside interference. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in to bash somebody with a folding chair. In walks unannounced David Kaye, ladies and gentlemen. He just like pops in and just walks through the crowd. And like, I didn't say this out loud, though I think that probably will have gotten a chuckle. I was like, yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm like, oh, by God, that's David Kaye's music. That's David Kaye's music. By God, he's got a folding chair. Outside interference. Where is the referee? By God, David Kaye has crashed this panel. And so he joins the group, and now it's Kean Carlisle and Jim Sorensen and Marty Eisenberg, Eric Siebenahler, and now David Kaye, and they just kind of chit chat a bit because David Kaye did some voice work for this animated project. I should clarify also, because I didn't talk about what the project actually is. Kean partnered with Jim Sorensen to find these storyboards for deleted scenes. So these are deleted scenes that don't exist.
Right.
He partnered with some animators to, conjure these, basically to animate these storyboards of deleted scenes, and got a variety of voice acting folks. Kean's he knows a lot of folks in kind of like that voice acting space, like our friend Jay Soups is part of that like Constructicons crew. So it's like, he does like animation and voice stuff. But anyway, so he reaches out.
And I want to add here too,
having
seen the panel now, they're actually animating in like these pre-deleted storyboards, right?
Correct.
And it's done in such a quality way that I didn't catch on to what was happening for the first couple clips. I was like, oh, they just showed clips of the real show. It is that concise and clean of animation that's being put back into these. It's incredible.
It's seamless and it looks so cool. And I mean, it looks and sounds and feels exactly how it ought to. So the last deleted scene the next deleted scene that comes up is the infamous Dinobot fight with Megatron from Megatron Rising Part 2. You know, something that we knew had gotten cut. Where David Kaye does some voice work for Grimlock in there, and it's a pretty cool fight, but something that doesn't belong in it. And we discussed this during our episode at the time, like, that we knew that this scene was supposed to be in there, but we know why it got cut. Right about that time, you remember where I mentioned that me and Chandler were posted up, right?
Yeah.
Against the wall. TFCon dude comes around and says, nobody could be against the walls. Fire code. You either need to find a seat or you need to leave. And so we left.
Oh my.
So, and this, I don't know how spiritual I am sometimes, but I do have a firm belief that things happen for a reason. I don't know if you call it, fate or kismet or serendipity or some other spiritual energy, whatever you want to call it. I do believe that things happen for a reason. Because as we were ushered out, I look out of the corner of my eye on the screen, and the next scene is from Season 2, Episode 7, Fistful of Energon. And I'm like, oh, an episode I have not seen yet. Goodbye, panel. And so I wasn't spoiled on that, nor was I spoiled on anything going forward, including the biggest spoiler, which it was kind of a little choppy navigating twitter.com because people were sharing things enthusiastically. So I know that that poor Beachcomber has a rough go of it, but I haven't seen the scene and I don't know what's entailed of it, because that's one where I'm like, no, not for me.
Sure.
Because like
I actually think that's the safest thing you could watch from that panel.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, but either way, I haven't seen it. But I know that people took a strange delight in poor Beachcomber's fate. So I was like, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah, indeed. Who hurt them? It was the question.
hurt people. My gosh. But anyway, so that's a very long story to where it's like, I got to have it both ways. I got to experience the vibe and feel that I wanted to be in that crowd with those fans, seeing those folks. I got to do a "This Is Why I Hate Machines" and do like a crowd cheer for that. I got to watch David Kaye come in and crash the panel. And then I got out before it got super spoilery. So I know Kian has since put it up. I clicked on it and only watched through to where I've seen. So it's like, again, once I saw that fistful come up, I'm like, nope, turning it off. So
this is a commitment to the craft. Now, this is a guy that is serious about this podcast. I love to hear it.
Well, and there again, during the 6-0 poll, which TFA won, there was some rough sledding there. Like in terms of like, I think I probably had seen the most spoilerific out of context stuff. And unfortunately, the further we go down, the less out of context stuff is. So, I mean, again, I know the secret of the Autobot ship. It's like that. I mean, there's no dancing around that anymore. I know, because I saw that GIF shared a whole lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, there's certain things that they're unavoidable, but there are things that I still don't know, or there are things that I think I know, but I don't have the context for. So, it'll be, and I'll call those things out when we get to them in the podcast proper, because I'll be like, oh, I saw a GIF of this, so I just assumed it was this, and then we can litigate those at the time. but yeah, so that was Saturday at
Wow.
TFCon. Sunday was equally busy. I finished my Transformers the movie poster. I got autographs from David Mendenhall, who played David. David. I did this all the time because he's like Daniel. He's Daniel in the movie, and people call him Daniel, and he talks about being David in the movie. So it's like it's kind of funny, but like very cool dude, very sweet guy. Hal Rail, who played Shrapnel and Snarl. Um, he was a sweetheart as well, and the one and only Frank Welker. I got an autograph from him as well on my poster. So my
Awesome.
poster is done at this point. I mean, unless they can
Nice.
raise Orson Welles from the dead, or if I can get in touch with Weird Al Yankovic, I would have him sign it. And I guess the only other person I could think of would be Judd Nelson. And like he does some cons, but I don't think he's ever going to do a TF con. And the gimmick with my poster, I'm not going to spend any more time talking about it, but like the gimmick is it's only been autographed at TF cons. And it's only been autographed by folks that I have specifically met. So it's a very narrow specific project, but
that transcends Souvenir. That is really something.
I think so. I think it's something really special. And if you want to hear me talk more about my poster, listen to some of my other podcasts, or I think I've mentioned it before, but it's in brief, it's the Fathom Events giveaway poster that they were doing at like the 30th anniversary screening. So as my wife put it, it's from the movie. You got this poster from watching the movie. They gave it to you for watching the movie. Get that one autographed. And I'm like, yeah. My wife is great. Awesome. I did meet a couple listeners. I got to hang out briefly with Lord of the Torbs, and they gave me a Soundwave friendship bracelet.
Oh, awesome.
And it's I wore this thing for the entire rest of the convention. So it's like I come home and my wife's like, the hell is that? Are you a Swiftie now? You got friendship bracelets? What are you doing? And I'm like, no. And I talked about who it was from, and I'm like, yeah, no, they're like super into TFA and the podcast, and I met them in line for the Frank Welker and Peter Cullen panel, so it was very easy to find them. So cool. It's like I'm in line. I'm like, perfect. I will come to you. And did trade skis for the friendship bracelet for a couple Two Mikes Too Furious buttons.
Great deal.
I thought so. I have another story with a listener interaction. This one cracked me up. It was like midday Saturday. I was hanging out with my uncles out in the courtyard. They hadn't gotten their tickets yet, and I think Andy came by. Go Andy Robo, the guy who designed the Mike Seibert radio stuff. Great dude, fun guy. But we were talking about something, and I gave him some Two Mikes Too Furious buttons. And there was this guy. I didn't catch his name, so I apologize for not asking. But like he's sitting minding his own business, and I think he had asked me like, "Oh wait, do you?" Are you one of the mics? Do you host Two Mikes Too Furious? I'm like, yeah. I'm the mouthy mic. He's like, oh yeah. And it was something, I don't know if it was that, but it was something to the effect of like, he popped into the chat to say like, oh, I listened to Two Mikes Too Furious. I was like, cool, thanks. What do you think? It's all right.
And now we have a slogan for the show. Finally,
yeah, it's okay.
Brave. It's all
right.
It
was so funny, and he left shortly after that. I don't know if I scared him off with some of my discourse or whatever, because a lot of Dune 2 talk. Like Caleb from APDC and my uncle Chris had both come fresh from seeing Dune Part 2, and they were like super broing down. I was like, hey Caleb, you know who else has seen that Dune 2? He's like, yeah, who's that? I'm like, my Uncle Chris. I'm like, hey, Uncle Chris, you know who else has seen that Dune 2? My buddy Caleb over here. And I'm like, be friends and stuff. So that was very cool. So overall, very, very cool TFCon experience. before I reach into my little grab bag here and do a little toy talk, because I did get something from TFCon that is a TFA toy. Before I talk about this guy, do you any questions, comments, concerns, anything else about TFCon that I can?
No, I mean, I'm just in awe. I didn't really have this level of jealousy until just now when you reiterated it so beautifully, and now I'm like, oh, I missed it. I did actually have a question though. What TFCon LA is this? What number are we on for TFCon LA? Is this second, third? It's fairly
Um,
new, you know,
it's fairly new.
branch of TFCon.
So a brief history, I think this one is the fourth, but let me see if I can figure this one out by memory. So the first one was in 2019.
Yes.
And at the time, it was viewed as a one-off. It was billed as a Generation 1 reunion for the then 35th anniversary. And the gimmick of it being it's in Los Angeles or Burbank, where more or less the fair amount of the voice actors live. So it makes it very convenient for them to go. It was a very well-attended convention. Folks had a great time. That's where I started my poster project and got, I would say, at least a third, if not half, of that first wave of autographs on it. And we just thought it was going to be a one-off. Then COVID kind of had some other kind of made things hinky, because like the next TFCon was to have been Orlando in 2020 during March at that TFCon LA time. That show gets canceled, postponed. They end up having it in 2023. Give you a little inside baseball on how TFCon works. They work on a 3-year rotation. So it's usually like, you know, they're working on now for shows happening 3 years from now. So that's kind of how that works. So that's kind of how I've been able to intuit that Chicago will probably be in 2025 because it was in 2022. So it went Chicago 22, Orlando 23, Baltimore 24. So I am guessing, I have no insider knowledge, this is just speculation, but I think it's going to be Chicago in 2025. So Michael Andrews, mark your calendars.
You got it.
So, but with this LA one, they did it in 2019, didn't do it in 2020 because they were going to do Orlando. I had manufactured a misplaced memory that I went in 2021. I didn't. They didn't have a TFCon LA in 2021, but they did have one in 2022 that I went to. So that's number 2. They also had it in 2023 that I did not go to, and now they've just had one in 2024. So there's been 4.
Okay.
Now, as of recording time, this still hasn't been announced formally, and I find that kind of odd. But one of the final panel of TFCon is a organizer's Q&A where Colin Douglas, the mastermind behind TFCon, takes audience questions. And it was like, well, hey, did you guys have a good time at TFCon this year? Woo, yeah. You know, that kind of thing. How about we do it again next year? Woo.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you know, I'm saying this without saying this, but mark your calendars for this weekend next year. So it'll be mid-March 2025 for TFCon LA, the return. So that'll be number 5. They'll have almost an infinity gauntlet, and I would imagine that it's so successful, I would imagine that they would do it in 2026, which might be relevant for me because now that would be the 40th anniversary of the movie. So,
wow. And I'll tell you guys right now, TFCon LA might as well be called TFCon Las Vegas, because what happens there stays there. It is its own special little convention, different, truly unique from all the others, I'd say.
Absolutely. Just in terms of like the magnetism of the guests. Like basically like they run autograph sessions in shifts. So it's like, you know, if you want to And I was trying to impart this onto anybody I talk to. It's like, if there's somebody you want to get an autograph from, you have to look at the schedule and know when they're going to be signing, because you can't just roll into the dealer room and expect to get in line for Arthur Burkhart. That's not how that works.
Right.
So yeah, you do have to invest a little strategy into it. So that's why I got most of my poster autographs on Sunday, because I didn't want to deal with the hustle and bustle on Saturday. Sunday's typically a little slower, but I still had to be mindful of when those signing times were, because I couldn't just
Sure.
like roll in, as it were. So that would be my advice, is, just kind of like, be aware of signing times. I also want to call out, I mean, because I know I've went way, way longer. I promised you, Michael Andrews, that I had concise notes and that I would get
I'm
things.
waiting to see them.
I mean, I will share my screen with you and show you my bullet points, but I guess I speak too extemporaneously about these things that I am passionate about. But like,
Your nickname is bullet points, like how a really tall guy's nickname is Tiny, I think is how it
there it
works.
is. There it is. There it is. But the Oscars were happening on Sunday of TFCon, and one of like my favorite not Transformers moments was I was in the outdoor bar with a whole group of like-minded folks when Godzilla -1 won the special effects Oscar,
Oh,
and there was like an actual crowd cheer. Like, it was
that's awesome.
literally like that was a really cool moment to
So
be
well
able.
deserved.
Yeah,
So much deserved.
I appreciate the rewarding of creativity and innovation. It's like that means that win means so much to so many people. That is so cool. But
Truly.
anyway, I couldn't get out of here with sharing that little anecdote as well, because oh yeah, and the Jimmy Fallon stuff as well. It's like, oh yeah, Rise of the Beast could have been written by AI.
Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel sucks. But anyway, so it was kind of interesting to like I wasn't there when that happened, but there was like a little bit of a buzz, like a couple of, it's like, did you catch what Kimmel said? What a fuckwit,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, Oscars at the like I came out in my Barbenheimer best. I had my pink shirt with my black undershirts and shorts, and was rocking the aesthetic there. I thought that was a lot of fun. But anyway, so I promised you some toy talk,
Yeah.
and I of all of the Transformers animated figures I didn't buy, I did actually buy one, and I got something in a little bag. He looks like a little car, and I got
You.
myself a little Bumblebee, a little Bumblebee bee. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a cute little car, right? Now this little car does a magic trick. It's gonna be perfect for video that people can't see.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a little activators. He's a little
That is so
activators.
cool.
And it's a one-step transformation. Basically, he folds back up into car mode. He's got a button on top of the roof. It's it's his little
It's the
police.
siren. Yeah.
It's his little siren. You press the button, and little his arms and head pops out. This is a terrific little figure, and I think this guy even scales even better than the deluxe. So
Oh, yeah.
I have some visual daily double here, a visual representation of like the different flavors of Bumblebee. So I think I'll just trim this video and put it on our YouTube or something like that. I don't know, but I know I'm doing an audio podcast, but like, so I have Activators Bumblebee that I got what I think to be a screaming deal on. I was fearful of this figure skyrocketing in price because Maz from Triple Takeover, this was one of his hidden gems. So I figured, oh man, the Triple
Ah.
Takeover is effect. This figure is going to be nigh unaffordable. Got a great deal on it. I'm very pleased with the price I paid. I mean, it was a little spendy, but very much worth it. So anyway, so I want to compare this little dude to his friend the Deluxe,
Goo.
and one of the every time I had a conversation with it, it's like, that Deluxe is so big. He's so big.
Yeah.
But like, so this Activators actually, I think, scales better with some of the other characters than the deluxe does because he's so big. But I have more visuals to bring out.
Ah.
I have also recently, I don't know if I had this at the time when we recorded Garbage In, Garbage Out with Alpha Magnus, but in the off season, I have also since now acquired Legacy Animated Universe Bumblebee. So he's a fun little dude. He's got like his turbo boosters. And eventually we're going to talk about velocity. And I the only reason I have all these Bumblebee toys is because this is a very Bumblebee episode. I wanted to show off the turbo boosters on the deluxe and on the legacy version. But like, look at the you know, I'm going to show Michael Andrews the scale here between the Activators version and the legacy version, and they're both pretty much the same size.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like the legacy version's like a scratch taller, but not much. Like they scale very, very well. But again, you put that next to...
You have just made me want that legacy toy. I didn't know it was such a cute little bugger.
I was trying to tell you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's right. Programming note. So I had just gotten this when we recorded, but I hadn't opened him yet. I think that's what it was. So I could see him presenting in the box. But yeah, let's say he's like half the size of the old deluxe. Bonkers. Cool. So, and then just more for scale, I also brought his uptight motorcycle friend. So I have Legacy Animated Prowl, and we'll put him next to Bumbly EB over here. And then finally, the Core Degrassi over here. Maybe I'll straighten his legs out a little bit. I have an Optometrist Prime as well.
Wow.
So now I mean, by this figure, he rules. He's big, he's chunky, he's got that big heckin' axe. Yeah. But like look at Bumblebee. He's literally like comes up to his knee.
Yeah. That's wild.
But I mean, I gotta take better pictures of this, but like, I mean, I love how these guys scale together. It's like it really, really captures that that scale there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, then there's Activators B with Optimus.
Yeah. Well, now you and I share a toy in our collection, because my only activator is Activator B.
Oh, nice.
It was given to me as a birthday present at the time from some coworkers. Otherwise I never would have picked it up for myself. That wasn't really my collecting wheelhouse at the time. So, but it is a lot of fun. And when you said it's kind of a one-step transformer, it's not like the one-step transformers that are on the shelves right now, where it's like they fold in half like a clamshell. This thing like pops open like a magic trick, and all of a sudden you have a little toy. Nicely articulated, and the whole
he's got like this bitch and T pose that he does. Yeah. And then he just literally just folds in, and you tuck in his arms. And I don't know why my camera's out of focus all of a sudden. There we go. And again, a Michael Andrews favorite, a teeny tiny little car. But like, I can't get over this spring action transformation where it's like, you know, the back folds back, the head pops up, and the arms pop out in that T pose there. It's so much fun.
For any listeners, great figure. Tony Hawk fans, he sort of does the Rune Glifberg Christ Air when he pops open.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very much so. So anyway, so I wanted to share a little bit of toy talk, because I mean, again, like we talked about, you know, Velocity is such a Bumblebee centric episode. This felt like the time to get out my TFCon swag. But yeah, this little dude was the only TFCon toy purchase I made for myself. So yeah, I got a 20-pound GI Joe book and a teeny tiny Bramblebee, little bumbly EB.
Yeah, so I don't know how that bodes if you need to point to your fandom ever. GI Joe versus TFA, it's going to be a little offset, but no, I'd say that Activator is a good little purchase, good little souvenir.
Well, and unfortunately though, that only stokes my hunger for more of them. And what I've also discovered going through the show floor at a TFCon is that some of those more rare ones are a little spendy. Like I don't remember if it was Ironhide or Cliff Jumper, but it was a red dude. Either way, $65 mint on card. And I'm like, and I think they had a Skywarp also that was also like, I want to say he was like 50 or 60 also.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's a little
Those
too
are
much
up
for
there.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I could go like 20 or maybe a little more or something if it's the right figure, but like
Right.
all the more reason why I should have thrown down the $50 to get the Rescue Ratchet pack.
We both blew it on that one.
We both blew it on that.
I won't give you the whole blame for that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I should have just grabbed it. I should have just grabbed it, because then it just would have been like, I don't know, we split it evenly, like 25 each or some such like that.
Yeah,
Or I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's over. It's over.
It's over and done. We can't go back.
Yeah. But we did learn about the Battle in Space 2-pack, where it's like Cybertronian Megatron versus Prowl, and like he's got like a detachable hand and stuff. That was
wild.
that was $90 I didn't spend on that. So anyway, I feel like we're starting to Tokyo drift a little bit from the topic at hand. Shall we talk about an episode?
I would love that.
All right. And you will be able to hear that conversation when Two Mikes Too Furious returns this Friday, April 5th, where we discuss Transformers Animated Season 2, Episode 6, Velocity. That's the one where Bumblebee gets involved with an illegal underground street racing circuit while investigating a mysterious blue race car that might or might not be familiar to fans of Transformers the movie. It's a riff on Speed Racer and Too Fast, Too Furious. There was a lot of fun to discuss, and I hope you join us over on that podcast when it drops this Friday. And if you'd like to check out the video of our conversation about TFCon LA, where you can see our smiling, happy faces, as well as all of the toys that I brought out for comparisons, you could go watch that on the Two Mikes Too Furious YouTube channel, where you can also check out the audio podcast as well. That's kind of become a hub of sorts for listener feedback, where folks say incredibly nice things about us and our podcast, which of course makes me incredibly happy. But I think with that will wrap things up for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and for making us a part of your day. We greatly appreciate it. And make sure you're subscribed to Mike Seibert Radio on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Like, share, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you like and what you'd like to hear more of in the future. For my guest, the Spark Soul brother, Michael Andrews, my name is Mike. This has been Mike Seibert Radio. And until next time, till all are one, make good choices. Mike Seibert Radio is recorded in Seattle, Washington. Our original theme song is written and performed by Lucia Fasano. Get her music on all streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. Check out her Instagram at Lucia_Fasano. Our closing theme is A Nice Place to Visit by These Young Fools, used with permission from Michael Geissler. For more music like it, check out Michael's website, bytourmusic.com. Special thanks to Andy Lita for our logos and graphic design. He is at GoGoAndyRobo out on Twitter. Become a Mike Cybertronian and join the MSRP Friends and Fans Facebook group. And you can follow me on social media at Mike Seibert Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And you can check out the YouTube channel for even more videos and live streams. Want to be a guest on the show? Send me an email, MikeSeibertRadio@gmail.com.